the initial introduction?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much, Dawn. Welcome, everyone, and happy Women's Entrepreneurship Day. This is so exciting, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Paris Godet, and I am the board chair of WeBC. And today I'm joining you from Campbell River, and it's with great deep respect and gratitude that I get to live, work, and play on the traditional and unceded territory of the Weewakai and Weewakam nations, traditional stewards of these beautiful lands. And I just invite you all to take a moment and reflect on the lands that you're joining from today as well. So not sure if you know this, but Women's Entrepreneurship Day is a global movement, and it's actually being celebrated by 144 countries around the world, which is just amazing. And it really gives us a chance to recognize you, the amazing women entrepreneurs that really make an impact in your communities. And this is a very joyous occasion, but it's also a little bit frustrating because there is just still so much work that needs to be done. And so today we're going to focus on three things. The first one is really raising awareness, right? Highlighting the challenges that women entrepreneurs face, but also the impact that we make in communities. It's about promoting gender equality and really drawing attention to the importance of gender diversity and inclusivity in entrepreneurship. And one of my favorite things is buy from women, right? Keeping women business owners sustainable means that choosing to use our buying power to really further support them. So I thank you for joining us today. It's windy where I am, but I'm so honored to be in your presence. And I'm going to hand it over now to Shauna Harper, the CEO of WeBC, and she's going to introduce our workshop and our facilitator today. Off to you, Shauna.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paris. We have both Paris Godet as our chair, but also Kathy Kozel, our director of WeBC as well. And so two board members. So thank you both for being here. I also want to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional and unceded ancestral territory of the Lekwungen people, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations communities. Our team has
off the camera.
Sorry, one sec, if you can mute. Our team has the privilege of being here for the next few days in what today is called Victoria. However, our head office for WeBC is actually situated in the traditional and unceded lands of the Syilx Okanagan people, known as Kelowna. So our workshop today is a gift for our community to build resilience as you encounter obstacles in growing your business. It's all about helping to build resilience by fostering a positive mindset as you face those kind of business challenges that I know each of you, hopefully, if not already today, sometime this week will face. And as much as you're going to learn techniques and tools to help build resilience, someone once told me something that kind of stuck in my head, that resilience isn't just built in individuals, it's also built in community. And I see that really, the strength of WeBC really is our community. I know there was a quote that Sheryl Sandberg, one of my favorite books, Option B, had. I'm just going to read it because I pulled it up just to kind of remind us about the community side. Resilience is built among individuals in our neighborhoods, schools, towns, and governments. When we build resilience together, we become stronger ourselves and form communities that can overcome obstacles and prevent adversity. So collective resilience requires more than just a shared hope. It is also fueled by shared experiences, shared narratives, and shared power. And so our hope is that what you learn today are tools that you bring back into your businesses, but also into your homes, your schools, and your communities, and all the incredible spaces that you do touch in your daily lives. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome in Dawn McCooey. Dawn was my first touch point into WeBC almost 17 years ago. Dawn is an amazing mentor, facilitator, champion, and entrepreneur who has been with WeBC for many years. We're happy to welcome her back today to present this workshop to build resilience. So over to you, Dawn.
Thank you so much, Shauna, and thank you, Paris. Today's event is called Celebrate and Elevate. And, I have, as Shauna has said, I've known Shauna for 17 years. And if there's one person in community who celebrates and elevates Women in Business, it's Shauna Harper. So how lucky are we to have Shauna as the CEO of WeBC? And then to have Paris and Kathy, who are here representing the board of directors for WeBC, and community champions both out there inspiring others. So welcome everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Shauna. I'm glad your plane made it to Victoria. Yeah. I also come to you on the unceded territories of the Algonquin speaking peoples in Victoria, the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations. And it's on these lands that I am privileged to work and live and play. So thank you, everyone. And thank you to all of you for joining us today, because we couldn't do this without you. And Shauna said it, resilience is within ourselves, and it's within our community, all of our actions, all of those obstacles that we bring forward and share with others. We learn at the same time, and we learn in community. So I'm delighted to have this space in sharing with you a little bit about what I know about resilience. And those of you who know me know that I almost always use the metaphor of juggling when I talk to women entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs juggle. It's what we do every single day. Juggle so many balls in the air. And, when we're facing obstacles and we're juggling so much, a powerful vision for me was understanding that some of those balls are rubber and some of them are glass. And if we can look at resilience in terms of, some days they change, from time to time. Sometimes those glass balls become the rubber ones and vice versa. And having that knowledge, or just that metaphor as a way of looking at juggling so much can be helpful. So I always like to share that piece. But you will, and Shauna said it, you will be faced with obstacles. That is that's a given in business. The good thing is you can navigate challenges with resilience and a growth mindset. And those are not personality traits. Those are skills that we can learn and get better at. The key in overcoming obstacles and setbacks is to develop a problem-solving mindset. And we're going to talk about that today. What are some of those things that we can do to develop a stronger problem-solving mindset? One woman entrepreneur said to me not too long ago, she said, I don't want to be resilient. I don't want to be resilient anymore. We've all had to be so resilient. I don't want to be resilient. But that resilience is what women entrepreneurs do every time they come up against a challenge. So we celebrate the journey today as well as the success. We celebrate and elevate one another. That's what community does. So I am delighted to be a part of this community that celebrates and elevates. And I'm going to start with breaking you into, I know that's always a funny way to explain it, breaking you into groups, putting you into groups. And I really need Jen White, who's working hard in the background here, helping me with this. And we're going to have you connect in groups of 3. And I just have one task for you to do in your small group. You've got 5 minutes, is to talk with one another about what it is that you're celebrating. What are you celebrating today? We're going to start with that. Only 5 minutes, and I'm going to ask you. You'll see on the screen in just 1 minute how you can join your group. Just click on join your group. If you've got any questions, you can come back to the main room, and we can help you get into your group. Okay. So Jen's going to set us up into groups of 3. That all happens with technical, amazing tools in the background on Zoom. And you've got 5 minutes. Any questions, pop back in. Talk about what you're celebrating. It might be you've just put out though, had the courage to talk about starting a business. Or maybe you've hired your first staff. Whatever it is, what are you celebrating today? Okay, we're back recording. Thank you, everyone. Would anyone like to share what you're celebrating? We've got time for a couple of examples, or if you'd like to put something into chat. Anybody want to share what you're celebrating today?
Judith, you didn't get a chance to celebrate, so maybe you can put something, say something.
You spend that time just meeting each other.
We did actually spend a lot of time doing that, but it was good. There's some good celebrations for sure.
Nice, wonderful, wonderful. And I'm just going to check chat. Happy to be here today. Love to connect with anyone. Oh, look at this networking that's happening. Consulting business in project management. Congratulations, Winnie. Yep. Fern from Nelson. Welcome, Fern. Celebrating the fact that I've decided to be an entrepreneur and will be starting my own business soon. Oh my goodness. All these celebrations. Decided to be an entrepreneur and putting it out there, right? That in itself is a celebration. And then here I am to talk about the obstacles. But what about the obstacles, right? The two sides, and giving you some tools today. Overcoming obstacles by using some tools. You know, one of the ones, and we hear people talk about limiting beliefs, right? Identifying limiting beliefs, you know, is starting with what is working. What is working for you and for your business? Because sometimes when we're faced with obstacles, we're stuck looking at the obstacle without having that appreciative opportunity to look at what is working. And, you know, I think, you know, there are a lot of things, and people are tired of talking about the pivoting that all of the businesses have done through the pandemic and since. But for some of you that are just at that starting phase and that celebration stage, celebrate each step. Really look at that journey as a way of managing obstacles, as a starting step. Stepping back, looking at what is working. Because those limiting beliefs are things like, you know, I'll never get this, or I'm not going to find that supplier that can get me that one product that I really need, you know. Things that really create the obstacle that starts first with us. So identifying limiting beliefs. Does anybody have anything they want to add about limiting beliefs? Something that you have learned, you can put up your hand in, if you want to do that, or you can put it in chat. Anybody want to say something about limiting beliefs? Sometimes they crop up and we don't even know they're there. Then there's that opportunity to stop and think about what we're thinking about. So called metacognition, right? Like that big overview of looking at how we're thinking about a problem can be a limiting belief. I'm just going to double check.
Dawn, sorry, I'm trying to find my hand to put it up. I wanted to share
Okay,
something
Kathy,
about
just do this.
Yeah, oh, I did. It was like,
Okay, sorry, I missed you.
no worries. No, I'm looking for the, you know, the little hand that goes up over my screen, right? To say, hey, I can't find it. It's one of those days.
Here you are.
So good. Limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Part of that, what makes those limiting beliefs come true, and we actually touched on this in our little chat, was how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about our business, and it's unconscious. You know, well, I'm just, or well, I'm hoping, or well, there's that also will really bring in those limiting beliefs and actually bring them more to a reality, so that they're like, so our words have a really important role to play in that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not just our thoughts. Our thoughts then become our words. And you said it, Kathy, just. Words like just.
Yeah. Or I'm
I'm
only.
just part-time, or it's just a small business,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And women entrepreneurs, that is, we're socialized. We have been socialized to minimize our achievements and successes. So being aware of that limiting language. Thank you for that. So that default is that self-awareness, write down, just right now. Before we do that, I'm going to jump in because Fernanda has her hand up. Fernanda, please do jump in.
Oh, yeah, no, you can move forward if you need to. I was just going to say that I think that's one area that is important to have a community, because a lot of the times we talk ourselves down, like as Kathy was saying, with specific words. But when you share that with your friends and other women that are in that, they're the first ones to be like, what are you talking about? Like, don't like, what? Like you have like, because a lot of the times we have a lot of imposter syndrome and you're like, no, it's just this that I did. And they're like, that's amazing. So having that external point of view, I think it's very important to break those limits. And because as I said, like we're educated and we learn to think about that and talk with us like that. And when we externalize that and have that community put a mirror in front of us and it's like, no, look at you, it helps quite a bit.
I love metaphors, and I love the idea of holding a mirror up to your community. I love that. We've got time for one more. Anna, you had your hand up. Please do jump in.
Yes, I work in international market research for the past 24 years. And I want to say that limiting beliefs come from feelings. And women are people who feel. They feel all the time. And I want to say that data that provides feedback from your customers, it saves you from limiting beliefs. So for example, market research study where you ask consumers, what is my product? What you like, what you don't like? Then you focus on negatives, positives about your business, and you select how to improve it. Without the data, you cannot improve, and you will be always wandering from room to room thinking what is happening, and you will be taken into your feelings instead of creating business plan based on real data, what people think about your service and your product.
Wow. You know, Anna, that the whole concept of the customer is right, even when they're wrong, right? Bringing that information to you so that you've got that lens. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. You know, I want to share another tool with you, which we call the when and then. Because when you are confronted with doubt, right? Building resilience is that awareness, and awareness sometimes of what that doubt is about. Like I can't do it, or something else just seems more important, right? So the when and then is a great tool for planning, because what you can do with when and then is pre-plan. So for today's session, for example, there's a big windstorm coming and it's started already. And so I started thinking about what about a power outage in the middle of, we've got all of you have taken your precious time to be here. What if there's a power outage, right? Hang on. I'm not going to worry about that anymore. I'm going to set up a plan with Jen, and Jen was right on board. So I said, if my power goes out in the middle of this, have you got the slides? Yes. Can you hang in there and follow through on the slides until I can get back onto my phone? So that's kind of a when and then live example right from 20 minutes ago. But if you think about that in terms of you're planning to do something and the weather, let's take this into your personal life. I'm gonna walk every single day, and that's my new plan. I'm gonna walk every day. But the day 2 comes along and it's pouring rain. Pretty easy to give up on that plan, right? Or you're looking for a new supplier for your business, and the new supplier says, no, you're too small a business, right? When that happens, then. So for the weather example, I'm going to walk. It's my new healthy habit. I'm going to walk every day. And when it rains, on those days when it rains, I'm going to take an umbrella. I'm going to do a shorter walk. And I'm going to reward myself with a cup of tea when I get back. So you're really kind of managing that doubt that you can continue through when those obstacles come up using a when and then. And you can use it for your business. You can use it for your own personal, you can use it with your family. You can use it in your business plan. It's called contingency planning, right? Ways of planning ahead, when and then. It stops short, sometimes when we don't want to do something. I've never had that experience, of course. When we don't want to do something, like bookkeeping, invoicing, right? GST reports, when we don't want to do something, we can find 100 other things to do, right? So when that feeling comes up, thank you, Anna, when that feeling of doubt, like I don't know, yes, need to do something else, I've got some more tools for you. So when and then. And before I do that, I'm going to check into chat and see if I've missed anything here. If there's a question. I'm a baker and I have some limiting belief that the baking market is saturated because I keep hearing it over and over. Oh my gosh, I missed that one. And yes, those are examples that we're filled with information that comes externally. And then we internalize it and it's frightening, right? I'm celebrating, combining my services. Look, we've still got great celebration conversations in here that I missed. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And Tara is eliminating just, thanks to Kathy's comment. Eliminating just. Hannah. Yeah. Okay. Super. Let me move to the next slide. Here's another tool for your toolkit. Asking tough questions. When you're feeling blocked, ask yourself, it's about changing perspective, right? What would be a totally different approach to this? Maybe it's something you don't like and you embrace it. Or maybe it's something that you've done 100 times before and you're feeling blocked or bored with it, right? What if you fall out of love with your business? Oh my gosh, right? When you're feeling that blocked, is looking at it from a different perspective. And these are some questions that can be really helpful in doing that. If I knew the answer, what would it be? If I knew the answer, you're really tapping into your intuition. You're tapping into your subconscious. You know what? If I knew the answer, because maybe you do, it's like, have you ever done a flip a coin? Flip a coin, when you can't decide something, you're feeling stuck and you want to flip a coin, don't worry about which way it ends on the top of your hand. Think about what you're wishing, how it's going to land before it lands. There is, if you knew the answer, what would it be? Flip a coin and ask yourself, when that coin is spinning in the air, what am I hoping it will land? There's a lot of power in that. That's a tough question for yourself, and it's a really good one. What would be a great way to start solving this? What would be a great way to start solving this? Sometimes I call it I can't say I call it. I learned it somewhere. All of those giants that are out there that have taught me along the way is a 15% solution. What if the problem that you're feeling blocked about just needs 15% of a solution, not a solution? That is a powerful tool. That's a question you can ask yourself. What would be just a part of the solution to this challenge? That builds resilience because you feel the success from it. What's really blocking me from getting this done? That's that self-awareness, that honesty, that asking yourself those tough, or what I sometimes call courageous questions. What's really blocking me from getting this done? Or if there's one thing that's really worrying me about this, what is it? Because then you can go back to the when and then. You can go back to the when that happens. If this is something I'm worried about, when it does, then this is my contingency plan. Does anyone want to add something to tough questions? A question maybe that you've used or someone has asked you that is really helpful when you're feeling blocked? Does anyone else have something they'd like to share? Oh, you can put it in chat. I'm trying hard to keep track of chat.
I posted a quote that I use on a regular basis. What would you attempt to do if you knew that you could not fail? And no one knows who originally said that, but it's a daily question for me.
I love that. Can you say it out loud one more time? What
Sure.
would you do?
Sure. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Author
Wow.
unknown.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. Because that gives us that openness to be creative, that openness to think differently, right? Wow, that is beautiful. Am I missing any hands up, Jen?
Nope, looks all good.
Nope, we're doing okay. Okay. Hang on. I've only done this 3 million times and I'm trying to hit enter. I found it. So we talk about developing a problem-solving mindset, but what is that, right? And just like the juggling balls, sometimes we're using one or two or three or we're running on all 6 cylinders, but we don't need to be expert at all of these things. This is a toolkit, and sometimes leaning on some that you might not normally lean on, right, in your toolkit. For example, we all think differently and have strengths in analytical thinking and creative thinking. Those, generally speaking, and I'm not an expert in this, are 2 parts of the brain, right? The analytical thinking, the logical step by step, and the creativity and the innovation, the thinking outside the box, right? Both of those are helpful in developing a problem-solving mindset. So we come back to that awareness, right? We come back to, how am I thinking about this problem? Maybe I'm being too analytical. Maybe I only need a 15% solution. But if I'm really solid at being a perfectionist, I might not attempt to try something, right? Or if I'm too creative and I need to maybe work a little more on the analytical thinking. So being aware of how you're thinking about a problem can be really helpful. The problem-solving mindset involves just kind of that approaching challenges with that could involve an analytical, a logical, a step-by-step process, breaking it down into a complex problem into smaller steps, more manageable components, and we're going to talk about that as well. And creativity. So the open-mindedness is like having that open mind to be receptive to different viewpoints. There's 7 words that can be the end of a business, and they are: we've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. So developing resilience is about looking at things from, you know, people who don't like your product, or taking a look at the competition and copying what they do, or you know, finding a ghost mentor who you admire and you start to follow what it is that they're doing. Ghost mentor is someone they don't know they're your mentor, right? Finding those role models, those change makers. What are they doing? That's that openness, looking at different ways. Persistence is exactly what it sounds like. Persistence is resilience. It's the trying again. As an entrepreneur, you are persistent. You know, raise your right hand and lean it way back and pat yourself on the back, because you are persistent. And that's a part of solving problems, is the sticking with it, trying it again. Most entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs don't start one business and stay with it forever and ever and ever. I don't have up-to-date or solid enough facts to give you. But somewhere out there, if you Google it, let's find out what is the average number of businesses that an entrepreneur starts. I'm about 100% sure that it's not one. It's not one business. So that persistence, that resilience, that trying again, sometimes referred to as forward failing. You know, when you forward fail in an aspect of your business, trying a new product and it doesn't work. You know, the big guys do it too. Coca-Cola, right? Does anybody remember Zero Coke? That was one that was shared recently as an example. And, you know, it's such a great example because it gives us all that, oh my gosh, you know, even the ginormous companies make mistakes, fail forward, get up, and continue on. So congratulate yourself. Celebrate your persistence. The collaboration and the teamwork. Shauna Harper, the CEO, WeBC CEO, talked about this in her opening statement today. You know, enrolling others, building relationships, gaining those diverse ideas and collaboration. When a problem is too big, one of the things that women entrepreneurs tend to do is ask for help. When women get lost, they stop and ask for directions. And the wonderful thing is there are organizations like WeBC that are here to help. And creating community. So collaboration and teamwork, enroll others. You know, how many of you, just a quick hands up, have employees or contractors that work for you? Just do a quick scan here. Yeah. Hands up. Yep. You've got employees, you've got contractors, others. You, I'm sure, can attest to the value of involving your team in any problem that you're solving. The best double-edged bonus of doing that is you get additional information from your team. They get that sense of engagement with your business. So teamwork and collaboration is a double benefit. It's more than double, really. But and I'm biased because my background is in human resources, so I'm a very much a raw collaboration, teamwork, enroll others, build relationships within your team. And if you're a solopreneur and you say, where is my team? Your team is all of those people who are stakeholders in your business. So if you are an entrepreneur and you are the only entrepreneur, you are the solopreneur, you have a team. It's your suppliers, it's your customers, it's the person who makes your latte in the morning on your way into your office. These are all stakeholders who can be, that you can enroll and ask for information, for feedback, for ideas, that's going to give you that diversity that's going to be so important in looking at problems. Last but not least, and I don't say this with rose-colored glasses, a positive attitude. But maintaining a positive attitude is essential in problem solving. The opposite is this will never work, because then with that thought comes the associated behavior, which is why try, right? And you know the consequences of why try, right? So that positive attitude is not just about putting on a smile, right? It really is about looking at how you're thinking about the problem and giving yourself the opposite of a limiting belief, which is an innovative belief, an idea, a growth mindset that says, I might not be really good at this yet. And that's the key word, right? Yet. I'm on it. As my granddaughter says to me, I'm on it when I ask her to do something. Got it? I'm on it. So here's an opportunity for us to come together again for 5 minutes. I want you to talk about something that you're working on. You can, any one of these 3 things to talk about in your group of 3. You're going to take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves. And then if you're working on a problem, what's your default strength? What is something that you use when you're working on a problem? You can share that with others in your group. Or maybe you want to share what's one area that gets in the way when you're solving problems. Or maybe one new thing that you want to start doing when you're working on problems. Any of those. We're going to talk about what do you do, what do you use, and what could you use when you're working on a problem? What do you do to be more resilient? And Jen is going to do her magic in the background. And I'll ask you to join your group. We're going to have 6 minutes. I'm giving you 6 minutes for this.
I got it set at 5.
I'm sorry, Jen. I'm sorry, Jen. We'll stick with 5. I did say 5. Thank you. We're set. I'm going to use an excuse, which is we're so time crunched today, but absolutely, 5 minutes is not enough. I hear you on that. It's important for people to have that time to connect and at the same time to work through the material. So we're doing that balance. Hopefully you can share emails and continue a conversation or look each other up on LinkedIn, if that's a good way to do it. Absolutely. I'm just looking, sorry folks, I'm just trying to get through messages, looking for messages. Yeah. Jen, I'm wondering if you can help me with there we are. Got it. There we go. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, absolutely. So folks, apologies for not giving you that warning that the rooms were going to close. Yeah, all of a sudden you're thrown back into the large group and you're in the middle of a conversation with your mini cohort. So let's look at some ways to problem solve that. And one of them would be to send a direct message to the person that you were speaking to and ask if you would like to continue your conversation. That might be one way. Would that work? Does that sound like a plan? Okay. All right. So let's look at that whole idea of contingency planning. What if, right? Identifying potential risks, assessing the impact and the likelihood, and then action, the action part, developing response strategies. That's the contingency planning, or pivoting, as some people call it. You know, it's really identifying those risks before they happen. The assessing the impact, one of the good questions that you can ask yourself here when you're assessing the impact and the likelihood is, if it happens, how much impact will it have on my business, right? So if that thing that I'm worrying about, happens, how much impact? Because if it's got a big impact on your business, it's one that you really want to make sure you've got a contingency plan for. But sometimes we worry or we think about potential risks that may have minimal impact, right? So how much time is kind of this balance beam of how much time you spend in coming up with a strategy if the impact is not there. So those are some of the things, you know, just kind of outlining, you know, what are some of the actions that I can take? What are three? Who can I lean on is a really good question. Who can I lean on if this happens? Coming back to that whole sense of community. So I'm going to check chat and just think, I'm just double checking, folks, that I haven't missed anything here. All right. Great. There's some great networking happening in chat, which is fabulous. See, we're building community, always building community. Okay. So breaking tasks down into smaller pieces. This is one of the last tools for your toolkit. When overwhelm surfaces, when a task is too large. And remember I talked about that 15%. What if there was a 15% solution? You know, creating subtasks. What is one thing that I can do that would take me one step closer? What is one thing that I can do that would take me one step closer? That's a subtask, right? And then asking yourself, what is the next right action? Do you know what? Sometimes the next right action is making yourself a cup of tea. Sometimes that is the right next action in overwhelm and in building resiliency. It's all tied into that whole area of self-care, taking care of yourself. What is the next thing that I can do? The right action for me, right? When a task is too large. Another thing, actually, I'll show you this. I use this. It's a little 25-minute timer. It's actually a 60-minute timer, but I use 25. Is sometimes when a task is too big, I will give myself permission to work on it for only 25 minutes and then take a break. 25 minutes, because sometimes it's not doing the task that's overwhelming, it's starting it. If you can start something, you're already one step closer to finishing it. It's the starting it that often trips us up when we're feeling overwhelmed. So that building resilience sometimes comes from, you know, sort of that you know, grabbing the horns, right? Is being able to start something, give yourself permission to only work on it for 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 minutes. Give yourself a time frame that's realistic and valuable. Once you get into a task, you congratulate yourself, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing that thing that I thought I couldn't do. And you're training your brain, you're rewarding your brain with all that good stuff of that feeling of accomplishment. Even if it's just for the 15 minutes or the 25 minutes that you set aside. Does anyone want to talk about breaking down tasks? And I thought about that. Or there's some great things happening in chat and connections happening in chat, which I just love. Mostly connections. I love this. Okay. Breaking down tasks, asking for help, right? Okay. And here's the most important message for today before I turn this over. Celebrate, choose to celebrating not just our success, but also the journey that got us to here. We'll celebrate and elevate. I have cut this so short, but I would like to invite our host back to talk about what's happening, what's coming up.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn. My heart is full. You know, when we speak about community, this is what we mean, right? The connection, the vulnerability, the wisdom that comes from group. And there's so many great reminders today, Dawn, but the one thing I know that I'm going to take away is, what is that 15% solution? So that's going to be my little task to kind of implement and practice in my toolkit today. And just remember, everyone, that WeBC, we're here to support you through successes, through obstacles, through that journey to ongoing resiliency. And on the screen, you'll see some of our upcoming events, and we always have lots of diverse topics and opportunities to continue conversation and be in community with one another. And we will send all these links to you in the follow-up email. And just in closing, let's just keep this supportive spirit going and celebrate and elevate together. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dawn, for your wisdom today.
Thank you, Paris. And thank you, everyone. Thank you to Jen in the background. Thank you, Kathy. Shauna, I think Shauna is off to meetings. To all of you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Miigwech, thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's still
you.
being recorded, but I wanted to follow back up with Dawn if Dawn is still here. Maybe Dawn left. Is Dawn still here?
Dawn is here.